This work begins now. The people of Nigeria are looking to this administration for results, and they expect them quickly.
Financial autonomy of state houses of assembly tops deliberations as speakers hold conference in Lagos.
Operatives of Nigeria police rearrest notorious kidnap kingpin Hamisu Bala Wadume in Kano.
On Good Morning Nigeria today, we shall discuss the attack on Senator Ike Ekweremadu, plus inauguration of the Federal Executive Council.
August 17, 2019 will no doubt remain memorable in the minds of many Nigerians, home and abroad, as one of the dark days in the history of our country.
Well, the reason obviously is not far-fetched, Rhoda, and it was on that day that some members of the proscribed indigenous peoples of Biafra attacked former Deputy Senate President Ike Ekweremadu at the second annual Igbo Cultural Festival, which was taking place in Nuremberg in Germany.
Now, this ugly development attracted condemnation from different quarters, including political leaders and other men of goodwill within and outside the shores of Nigeria.
Well, the incident, of course, has thrown up a number of questions, particularly with regard to our socio-cultural tradition, including respect for senior citizens and leaders, as well as, of course, guests who are invited to certain ceremonies.
And that's a big question because many Nigerians, or Nigerians generally, we are all over the world known to be resilient, respectful to elders, especially no matter the provocation, you know, and we're also very, very, very hospitable, you know, to people, especially when you have invited guests. That's one thing we're known for in Nigeria. You see us in our best character. You know, we behave better when we have visitors, either in our homes or we're outside among visitors. So
one question to ask is what went wrong in Nuremberg last weekend to warrant the assault on the distinguished Senator Ike Ekweremadu, who was until recently the Deputy Senate President? Could the attackers have been under any influence, or were they sponsored by some other persons to carry out the act? And how would other nationals, of course, take this with regard to our national reputation? And are we giving room for others to, as it were, begin to look down on us on account of what transpired in faraway Germany? And what should be done going forward to prevent a reoccurrence in the future, considering that you have a number of Nigerian organizations in different parts of the world? So those are issues, of course, that we shall be taking a look at in one of our topics for conversation on Good Morning Nigeria today. My name is Kingsley Osadolo. I'd like to thank you for tuning in on the program.
I'm Rhoda Anonaman. It's always a pleasure to have you join us. We're live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We're broadcasting live from our studios here in Abuja, Nigeria. Also, we shall discuss the inauguration of the Federal Executive Council, which is coming up in just a few hours.
Well, as always, we have our complimentary segments of the program, and these include newspaper review, business, and others. But let's begin the news highlights this morning with our colleague, Musbah Udan-Wahab. Good morning, Musbah.
Very good morning, Kingsley. Welcome. Let's take up the news. This morning, President Muhammadu Buhari expresses absolute confidence in the capacity and patriotic commitment of the ministers designate to not only deliver a better Nigeria, but also ensure a brighter future for all. This was at the closing of a two-day presidential retreat for the appointees aimed at building a stronger platform for synergy and teamwork.
Public service is not easy work, and at times it can be thankless. I am therefore charging you all to seize this opportunity to serve as an honor, to give your best to deliver on this mandate for a more prosperous Nigeria not for some, but for all Nigerians.
Meanwhile, the president has approved the replacement for heads of federal government agencies that were recently appointed as ministers. Senator Bashir Garba Mohammed has been appointed Federal Commissioner, National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons. He replaces Sadia Umar Farouk. Dr. Chioma Heji Keme has been appointed Executive Secretary, Pension Transitional Arrangement Directorate, replacing Sharon Ikezo, while Kashifu Inua Abdullahi is now Director General, CEO, National Information Technology Development Agency, NITDA. For Executive Commissioner, Stakeholder Management, Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC, President Buhari has forwarded Adeleke Moronfolo Adewolu's name to the Senate for confirmation as replacement for Sunday Akandari. From the judiciary, Supreme Court strikes out Atiku's appeal. The Supreme Court has struck out an appeal by the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Atiku Abubakar, on the party's inability to reply the objection of the APC have a presidential election petition court. This appeal comes from APC's challenge of the competence of the PDP's petition have a tribunal. The five-man panel of Supreme Court justices led by Justice Datijo Mohammed ruled that Atiku's reply was filed out of time. Election stakeholders have met in Abuja for the presentation of a report of a monitoring and evaluation situation room, which is a compilation of evidence materials for the 2019 presidential and senatorial elections by the Presidential Support Committee. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, in a message, says the All Progressives Congress, APC, is putting in place measures to improve the living conditions of Nigerians and boost infrastructural development in the country.
Time judgment is pronounced and the opposition party says this is not right. We have something to present and say by what we have presented, these are facts in the field across the states.
And in Lagos, speakers of state houses of assembly have held a conference with a focus on how to attain financial autonomy by the legislative arm of government in states. Deputy Speaker, House of Representatives, Ahmed Idris Wase, at the opening urged the speakers to save the local government system from imminent collapse.
The local government is the most crucial tier of government. And I believe together we'll put our hands together on deck to ensure we'll take them out of the shackles.
The operatives of the Nigeria police have rearrested the notorious kidnap kingpin Hamisu Bala Wadume. He was rearrested in the late hours on Monday in his hideout at Layim Me Alo Hautoro area of Kano State. The United States President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief and U.S. Centers for Disease Control, U.S. Department of Defense and U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, have pledged to support Nigeria in implementing an antiretroviral treatment ART surge program in Rivers State to identify and provide treatment to approximately 180,000 people living with HIV. The United States ambassador to Nigeria, Stuart Simonton, led U.S. delegation on a courtesy visit to Rivers State to advocate for the elimination of user fees for all people living with HIV and antenatal care charges for pregnant women living with the virus. Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike commended the United States government for allocating $75 million for the treatment of HIV control activities in Nigeria. Ambassador Simonton thanked Governor Nyesom Wike for announcing his intent to eliminate user fee for persons living with HIV. About the news beats on Good Morning Nigeria this morning. Join us for more in the course of the day and after now. The ministers designate are scheduled for inauguration today. That will be the discussion on the table this morning. Join Kisley and Rhoda after this timeout.
Can I see your particulars, sir?
Officer, my particulars no dey here.
In that case, you'll have to come with me to the police station.
Officer, which levels? Where I for find you something make you take arrange your weekend.
What? Offense number 1, driving without particulars. Offense number 2, trying to bribe an officer of the law.
I won't harass Nigerians or take bribe. Change begins with me.
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency in conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
To the outer framers, the hat tippers, the turtleneckers, the fringe growers, you don't need to hide anymore. Try Dettol Even Tone. It cleans and helps to reduce the appearance of blemishes caused by oil, dirt and germs, giving your skin a healthy feel for an even better you. Dettol, be 100% sure.
All right, you're welcome back. And if you've just joined us, you're watching Good Morning Nigeria. Now to take our business news. Debt Management Office releases debt profile of Nigeria's geopolitical zones. Let's join Kunle Adeyeye for more details on this and other stories trending in the world of business.
Data from the Debt Management Office shows that 6 geopolitical zones of the country were exposed to a total domestic debt of 3.97 trillion naira as of March 31. The Southwest has more domestic debt than other regions of the country, with a debt of 1.04 trillion naira. The Southeast states owe 303 billion naira. The South-South region has a domestic debt burden of 949.4 billion naira, accounting for 23.91% of the country's sub-national domestic debt. The North-Central region, comprising Kwara, Kogi, Nasarawa, Niger, Plateau, and Benue states, as well as the Federal Capital Territory, has a domestic debt burden of 648.63 billion naira, accounting for 16.34% of the country's subnational domestic debt. And the equities market on Tuesday closed on a negative note as Nigeria's stock exchange all-share index depreciated by minus 0.21% to close at 27,058.62 points as against plus 0.71% appreciation recorded previously. With business news, I'm Kunle Adeyeye.
All right, thank you very much, Kunle, there for the business package and Good Morning Nigeria. Next for us on the program, we'll take a look at the front pages of some of today's newspapers.
As always, to give more insight into our review this morning is our regular newspaper reviewer, Bayo Atoibi. Bayo, good morning.
Good morning, Rhoda. Good morning, Kinsley.
Yeah, Bayo,
good morning, Nigeria.
That's right. We'll take a look at the front pages of the Punch and the Daily Trust this morning. Their lead stories are similar. They're talking about the rearrest of Wadume. According to the Punch, coming with a kicker, Taraba slain policeman, soldiers shot cops and freed me, Wadume confesses. With a rider, kidnap kingpin's arrest won't stop our probe. That's according to the defense headquarters. And you can see his photograph there, along with the members of the police special team that smoked him out of his hideout in Kano. That headline, it's also similar, as I said earlier, to what is the lead story for the Daily Trust newspaper. The Daily Trust newspaper captures it this way: Soldiers aided my escape from police, Wadume says, with 2 riders, how he was arrested inside Plaza in Kano, associate and others nabbed in Abuja and Taraba. Again, you have his photograph there. This time it's in handcuffs and also perhaps leg chains. His kaftan doesn't quite show that. So other stories on the front page of Daily Trust very quickly. I take those ones. Below the nameplate of the paper, 20 governors yet to form cabinet as Buhari swears in ministers today. That's page 7. Flood kills 6 and displaces over 600 in Jigawa. That's page 4. FRS lists Obasanjo firms and others among 1,901 tax defaulters. That's page 16. And right at the foot of the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper, gunmen attack convoy of Nasarawa deputy governor, killed 5 policemen. It's a different account of that story regardless. Now, INEC server, Supreme Court dismisses PDP and Atiku's appeal. That's page 3. And on page 5, Buhari replaces heads of agencies who have been appointed ministers.
All right, let's quickly take a look at the blueprint this morning. Just below just beside the nameplate there, you'll see 3 Benue monarchs suspended over Katsina Allah killings, and that's on page 16. Unilori Malls Community TV broadcasting. Flood kills pregnant woman, 5 others in Jigawa is also a story that is trending on the blueprint this morning. And the lead story is retreat ends. Who gets what as Buhari swears in ministers? Retreat ends. Who gets what as Buhari ends swears in ministers is the lead story for the pod this morning. That's the big story. And then with some riders there and some of the pictures of ministers designate, Agba Oga may head petroleum. Information awaits Lai Okeamu, Magashin line for defense, and Hamed may return to finance. That's on page 6. And then if you come down, you also have the picture story of the story that Kingsley read. That is the rearrest of Wadume there, being paraded at the force headquarters in Abuja yesterday. Now let's go down to the foot of the paper. It says, why Atiku PDP lost at the court and no cause for alarm, says ex-VP. That's on page 5. Then if you come down also on the foot of the paper, it says Taraba Kingpin Wadume arrested. Fake admission, 200 Imo University students to miss graduation. That's on page 16. All right, but let's begin with the rearrest of the kidnap Kingpin Wadume.
Yes, indeed, operatives of the Inspector General of Police response team rearrested Wadume, described as notorious kingpin in Kano on late Tuesday evening. He was arrested as Laime Alo in Hotoro quarters of Kano State. The police had been on his trail since the 6th of August after the gruesome murder of 3 policemen, 2 civilians and 5 other persons that were injured. The chairman of APGA at Ibi and 7 other persons, to including an Islamic cleric, have also been arrested. They actually had visited the head of IRT trying to plead for Wadume, and the party chairman is said to be a very close friend of the Wadume man. Since the attempted arrest of Wadume on 6th of August, which was bungled by rescuers, there has been no single kidnap along Ukari Takum Road. That speaks volumes. Absolutely. Since he has been arrested, kidnapping in that axis has stopped. Mm-hmm. So apparently they have needed the kidnapping there in the boat. On the other unfortunate story is the 3 policemen were killed yesterday in the convoy of the deputy governor of Nasarawa State. The deputy governor was in his way to Abuja on a national assignment. And just when they got very close to Akanga, they ran into an armed robbery and they fired at the convoy before they escaped. Unfortunately, 3 of the police officers and the driver were killed. The bodies have been taken to Dalhatu Araf Specialist Hospital in Lafia. The Commissioner of Police, Bole Alonge, has already visited the scene, and they are pursuing investigative purposes to ensure that the criminals are apprehended. Meanwhile, ministers designate, you remember, got set at the Senate during the screening, they also get to their marks after a two-day presidential screening. They are expected to hit the ground running today if they are sworn in and allocated portfolios. President Muhammadu Buhari challenged them at the conclusion yesterday and said, I have no doubt in the individual capacity and collective patriotism commitment of the ministers designate. He said, to deliver a better Nigeria for us, our children, and a brighter future for all of us all. He enjoined them to submit two directives he gave. Submit all issues for attention or meeting requests through the office of the Chief of Staff, while all Federal Executive Council matters are to be submitted through the Cabinet Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. He also challenged them that public service at times can be tactless, and nevertheless, he enjoined ministers designate to see the opportunity to serve as an honor, to give their best, to deliver their mandate for the prosperity of Nigeria. And therefore, if you were one of them, certainly you will have an intrusion and you will be challenged to lift 100 million Nigerians out of poverty is the task that must be done.
But there was a story that was trending yesterday, and it's at the foot of the Nigerian pilots, and the EFCC has denied that. It says EFCC denies raiding ex-Governor Ambode's house. That was a story that was trending from the early hours of yesterday up until it was late.
Yes, there were reports that his home in Lagos and under Atepe had been raided.
Yeah.
But the EFCC says they are not the one responsible for that. Okay. It is now left for whoever was responsible for raiding the home to be identified. You know, some of these stories, you have to be very careful on the social media. Most of the time, they are just fleeting tales.
But by this one, there were videos actually circulating, but like just as you said, whether they were from the EFCC, where they were from is what we don't know. Okay. All right, but let's quickly...
I'm just wondering, before the Wadume story.
Yes.
I think that this is a big opportunity to further unravel the network of kidnapping in the country. Okay. And because kidnapping is now on an industrial scale.
Yes.
And as you rightly observed, since the initial arrest of Wadume, and up to this moment, there appears to be no further incident of kidnapping along the Wukari axis. That tells you that, you know, a kingpin, of course, has been taken down. But what then do you do with the network that has been established? Some of his gang members, according to the reports, have also been arrested in different locations.
Yes.
And he's also said to own properties in different locations as well. And the story of the involvement of some officials of the security agencies, the soldiers, and allegedly some policemen, this is very serious. I think that the authorities must regard this as an opportunity to get to the root of the matter and then to deal with those issues decisively, of course, according to due process, according to the law. Wadume is said to own houses in different locations. Of course, as you very well know, some states already have laws, you know, compulsory acquisition of such houses or the demolition of those houses. Plus, of course, now you also have a number of counts when charges have been drafted for offenses of this nature. The murder of three policemen who were on official duty.
Yes.
Assuming they were not even on official duty, of course, you will have issues for the assailants, you know, to account for. So there are service offenses involved here. There are also criminal offenses involved here. Nigerians cannot be at the mercy, as it were, of kidnappers who appear to be operating an industry actively supported, as it were now, by some outlaws who are also in the security services.
Yes, obviously, kidnapping had turned out to be the most profitable adventure in recent times. And now that you also, not only the Wukari-Takum axis, Kaduna-Abuja Expressway, for a long time now, there have not been any incidences of kidnapping any longer. If there are any at all, there will be only flash incidences. And that is to say that they have been able to nick them in the bud. But I think the security agencies must trace everyone along that network, because that of the Kaduna-Abuja axis is the most dangerous, because it spreads through Niger State up to Katsina and has a link with the banditry that was going on in the northwest.
Yeah, we must again give kudos to the intelligence response team of the Inspector General's office. It was set up some years ago. It's always been very active, and we have cases like this to crack, and the boys are always out there, and they deliver. You recall, you stated that unfortunately some of those officers who were killed in Taraba were amongst those who secured the rescue of the district head of Daura.
Yes.
And they were also involved in busting some other kidnap cases.
Including Evans.
That's right.
Yeah. All right, so let's quickly take a look at the Nigerian pilot. On the Nigerian pilot, same stories trending on some other papers. Buhari replaces heads of government agencies as ministers get portfolios today. Northern governors shun conference on insecurity. That's on page 11. And of course, the big story on the Nigerian pilot today, Nigerians poor and shows for a better life, says Buhari. That's on page 8 of the Nigerian pilot. Let's quickly go down to the foot of the paper. Ruga shouldn't be a national issue, says Ganduje. That's the governor of Kano State. That's on page 8. And a couple of other stories just below there. It says deputy governor's impeachment. Okay, but I'd like to speak to this much later. Assembly directs CJ to set up panel. Edo Bauchi Assembly crisis. Reps won't allow law order breakdown. That's on page 6. And federal government petitions Ukraine over death of Nigerian doctor. That was a story that was trending the upper week. That's on page 11. Good to know that.
Okay. From the Punch newspaper, above the nameplate and 2 earpieces there beside the name flag. Let's just take those headlines. Banks suffer 100 billion naira bad loans in power sector. That's page 23. And 2 earpieces. Boko Haram crisis could last 15 more years. That's attributed to former President Olusegun Obasanjo. And then, of course, we have already talked about the lead story with regard to the rearrest of Wadume. And below the 2 photographs there on the front page, Niger SDP governorship candidate freed after 4 million naira ransom. That is after the photographs on the front page there, page 8. Repentant bandits helping to tackle killings. That's attributed to Batawale, who is governor of Zamfara, page 10. Kogi CJ asked to raise Achuba's impeachment panel, page 11. Suspended Buhari's aide, that's Oko Obono Obla, that sues ICPC and Sean's agency summons. And SARS operatives killed disarmed suspects in Lagos. And UN laments attacks on 8 workers in the northeast. Page 10. Bio.
Yes, the issue of Kogi State House of Assembly. The Assembly yesterday passed a resolution to begin the process of impeachment of the Deputy Governor Simon Achuba. The resolution was listed in the was raised by the majority leader in the House, and the Chief Judge of Kogi State is asked to constitute a 7-man panel to investigate allegation of misconduct. Majority Leader Adekunle Bello Balogun says it is in line with Section 88(3) of the Constitution. 19 members of the House, 2 more than the 17 required, supported the motion. The Speaker, Matthew Kolawole, has directed the Chief Judge of Kogi State, Nasir Ajana, to set up the committee. Meanwhile, members of the proscribed Islamic movement of Nigeria are reported to be causing disquiet in local communities in the Federal Capital Territory. One comrade, Yunus Ayusu, says that the members of the Shiite group are hiding in remote villages of the FCT, and they use those places as their hideouts and are also causing serious concern. The presence is becoming unbearable. They are allegedly indulged in physical assault of natives, including raping of women, alleged raping of women. He cited an instance last week when a Shiite member allegedly chopped off the fingers of a villager at Guzape, and they said that government should desist from treating the IMN members with kid gloves because the communities are no longer going to be tolerant of the harassment of these people who are settling among them and causing disquiet.
All right, let me quickly, I'd like to I'll cut you there. I'd quickly like to take our editorial for today. We're out of time for the newspaper review segment. We're discussing 2 items this morning. Our editorial this morning is from the Voice of the nation. It's on a federal government's plan to create 40,000 jobs. It says the federal government plans to utilize the last tranche of its 175 million US dollar loan supported by the African Development Bank to create 40,000 jobs. It says this plan cannot be faltered. Agriculture and its entirety chain is one good sector which government at all levels can use, not only to wean the economy from its overdependence on crude oil, but also solve youth unemployment, reduce poverty and create wealth. So the intention is to use this last tranche of the money on job creation through agriculture.
Well, I think the editorial has happened on the fact that the government has set itself a target of creating 100 million jobs. Yeah. And one of the areas for which it is most certain that that could be done is agriculture. And therefore, with the support from the African Development Bank, I think the government is set, if it pursues its program, particularly that of diversifying the economy away from oil and happen on agriculture. However, emphasis must also have to be put on the state government for every state to be involved in this, particularly in the agricultural produce they have the best strength to help support the economy with.
Bayo, we would like to thank you for being around. One story, I'm sure that it will continue to resonate. 20 state governors are yet to form their cabinet. And you just ask yourself, what's happening to our constitution? Bayo?
100 days after.
All right, it's Good Morning Nigeria live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we'll get ahead with our items for discussion.
They are there at the crack of dawn. They are there busy preparing while we rise for our day. They are there silently, guarding, waiting, listening, and watching. They are there ready in the sky above and the waters below, in the blistering heat of the day, in the dead of night, willing, indefatigable, determined in the defense of the sovereignty of our country. They are our first line of defense and our last. They who have paid the ultimate price in defending us. They are fathers and uncles. They are mothers and sisters and girlfriends and boyfriends. They are brothers and cousins and best friends and neighbors. They are classmates, colleagues, and citizens of this nation. They are our defenders and deserve our respect, our prayers, our thoughts. Nigeria, please support our armed forces.
Advertising your goods and services on the right channel gives you an edge over your competitors. NTA News 24 has all the platforms for your target audience. The station is on DSTV channel 419, GoTV channel 46, StarTimes channel 101, and Free TV channel 703. With our digital format and wide range, we can reach your customers in next to no time. We are eager to promote your business, goods, and services. So, partner with us for a very rewarding business experience. For more information, please call Henry on 0803-379-0884 or visit our office at NTA Headquarters, Area 11, Garki, Abuja. NTA News 24. News and more news.
You're welcome back, and you're watching Good Morning Nigeria live on the NTA. We have two conversations this morning. But to begin the first leg of our conversation, which is on the attack of former Deputy Senate President Ike Ekweremadu, let's take this background report put together by Kunle Adeyeye.
A group of people known to be members of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra attacked the former deputy president of the Senate, Ike Ekweremadu, in the German city of Nuremberg. Ekweremadu had traveled to Germany on invitation to celebrate the second annual Igbo Cultural Festival held in the German city. In a video that trended on social media, the visitor was chased out of the event venue by some men who assaulted him. These ugly acts attracted reactions and condemnations by various political parties, leaders, and other well-meaning Nigerians home and abroad. They described the attack as shameful, unacceptable, unjustifiable, and barbaric. For President of the Senate Ahmed Lawan, The attack in the present 24th century was uncalled for, as he is not responsible for whatever happens in the southeastern Nigeria. This unruly behavior of the attackers did not speak well of them, as Nigerians who are known to have high regards for elders and the constituted authority. But what could have been responsible for this behavior to their invited guest, who is known to be a great patriot and leader of exemplary behavior? Well, the victim, Senator Ike Ekwuremadu, has since returned to Nigeria, and he said he has pardoned them. The big question is the attack a transfer of aggression or a calculated attempt to humiliate the former Deputy Senate President? Is this part of our culture as responsible Nigerians? Could some people be behind the incident? Guests on Good Morning Nigeria are waiting to provide answers.
All right, that's the background report there put together by our correspondent Kunle Adeyeye. We have two guests with us in the studios, and also we'll be joined by two other guests from Germany via Skype. First, let's welcome Honorable Abike Dabiri Erewa, who is the chairman, CEO of Nigeria Diaspora Commission. Honorable Abike Dabiri Erewa, pleasure to have with us.
Thank you and good morning.
Okay, also here with us on Good Morning Nigeria today is a regular on Good Morning on the program, Dr. Law Mefo is a forensic and social psychologist, but also a very close associate of Senator Ike Ekwuremadu, who was assaulted in Nuremberg last weekend. Dr. Mefo, pleasure to have you with us on the program.
Thank you.
Okay.
And just as Kingsley indicated, we have two guests joining us from Nuremberg, Germany. We're being joined via Skype by Ikechukwu Okafo, who is in Germany, live for us there via Skype. Ikechukwu, thank you very much for joining us. And also from Germany, via Skype, we have Kenneth Gbandi, who's a peace research and conflict mediation expert. Thank you for joining us on the program this morning.
Thank you, ma'am, for having me on the program.
All right, let's begin the discussion with Law Mefo, who is a close associate
I was wondering, just before we get in, just to indicate that our producers had been in touch with the Nigerian ambassador, who is in Berlin. That's Ambassador Yusuf Maitama Tuga, and he had indicated that he would be part of this conversation, but we're expecting that perhaps he might join us before we wrap up the conversation.
All right, so now let's begin with Law Mefo. You are close to Senator Ike Ekwuremadu.
I am.
And of course, you've had a very detailed conversation with him on what actually happened. So can you give us a graphic description of what actually happened on the 17th of August?
Oh, well, to begin with, the incident is most embarrassing, most unusual. Is something that you can't just, put your finger on directly. So many things appear to be at play here for me. I'll come to that shortly. Ekwuremadu was duly invited by the Igbos in Germany for, New Year Festival, amongst other things. He essentially wanted to use the opportunity to work on even attracting investors, to Nigeria, especially the Southeast, as he has often done. And before that, there was a video I watched where the leader of IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, issued a directive that Nnewodo and others that were active in bringing on Operation Python Dance 2 should not be allowed to be part of that program. Now, Ekwuremadu happened to be the only one that attended. When he arrived, he actually wanted to, greet people he met in the arena before entering the main hall. Unknown to him, those people detailed by Nnamdi Kanu accosted him, assaulted him, And of course, you saw the video. And the issue here is this. Shortly after, the spokesman of IPOB, he goes by the name Emma Powerful, made a statement, given the reason why they attacked Ekweremadu and why they would attack more. They gave a long list of those on the attack list, and they said that they met, instigated, funded, activated Operation Python Dance. This to me is a bit absurd. I'll tell you why. You see, Ekweremadu was instrumental, to the release of Nnamdi Kanu from Kuje prison. He helped, in helping Nnamdi Kanu meet his bail conditions. You all know how stringent the bail conditions were. If he didn't want Nnamdi Kanu out and free, he would, it was cheaper for him to leave him in there and even frustrate any effort to bring him out. Now, here, the same man that should be seen as an ally, what you may call in the Bible context, a Nicodemus, he have sympathy for certain things without coming out openly to do so. Ekweremadu was on the side of the IPOB for the simple reason that they are Igbo youths. So to turn around and say that he instigated, funded, activated Operation Python Dance too is to me absurd and lacks logic on the whole.
All right.
So that's the initial shot I can give to this.
Yeah, we'll return to you to examine further the motive and motivation for the attack on Senator Iko Ekweremadu. We have two guests whom we've already introduced via Skype from Germany. Ikechukwu Okafor, who, of course, is in Nuremberg in Germany. That's the locus of the assault. Ikechukwu, could you recollect for our viewers what transpired on the 17th of August?
Good morning. First, I will start by thanking and appreciating the efforts so far by the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission. Because she also sent, actually because it was a very short notice, so she also sent somebody on the same day to represent her at that event. It's just a coincidence. The moment it was at the time we were arriving at the venue, so we arrived, our car was parked in front of the car that brought in the former deputy Senate president. So I saw, when I got down from the car, I saw people rushing to his car. So I was thinking that maybe they just want to say hello. And all of a sudden, I started seeing eggs flying everywhere. So I started throwing eggs at him, and mostly at people around the area where his car was parked. It was even by luck that one of the eggs did not hit a representative of the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission. So, and from that on, chaos erupted. So we tried as much as we could. At first, nobody knew what was happening. So when we realized what was really happening, we tried as much as we could to calm down the situation. So, and the rest is the pictures and videos you're getting from the social media.
Ikechukwu, we've seen some of the videos taken at the scene that you described as some chaos. But I was wondering, after Ekweremadu was spirited out of that environment, what happened later?
Yeah, what happened was that some people, some angry people, let me just put it this way, were arrested by the police. And not only arrested, they were just taken aside, moved from the main venue, and their identities have to be established, and their names, their addresses. So the police were doing their job, And yesterday, I also spoke to the policeman in charge. So he told me they are still on the investigation. So the most important thing is that it's before it could become a serious criminal case, Ekweremadu has to place charges, which he now publicly denounced in Nigeria that he has forgiven them. So if anything should happen now, it's going to come from the side of the from the prosecutor general in Germany here. So I don't think nothing much will come out of it, except we Nigerians here want to place or rather push more, which I personally am not in support of such.
Ikechukwu Okafor, you've talked about Ekweremadu saying that he has forgiven his attackers. That has to do with whether he wants to pursue any of his rights that have been violated in the civil matter. But if there are criminal issues arising, he has no control over that. And if the German authorities actually want to go ahead to prosecute, they will do that. But I still would like you to tell us, did the Yam Festival continue after that attempt at assaulting Ekweremadu, and what were the immediate comments by the attendees if the ceremony proceeded as they are scheduled?
Absolutely. The event went on afterwards when, in fact, we were even thinking that as human, we all can understand that the sitting very deep, so he could not make it back. The ambassador, the Nigerian ambassador to Germany was there. The representative of the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission was there. So I actually was the one in charge of the dignitaries sent from the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission. So everything went well. She gave her speech, was received with applause, and yeah, we all had our fun the way we planned to do it.
All right, Ikechukwu, we seem to be having issues with connecting with you there via Skype. We hope that the network improves in the course of this discussion. But let's bring in Honorable Abike Dabiri-Erewa, who's the chairman and CEO for the Nigerians and Diaspora Commission.
Thank you.
Ma, what do you make of all of this that has happened?
Not good for the image of the country. We keep saying we're treated. Somebody called me yesterday and said, well, we have a new name, egg throwers and stone throwers. You know, landed in Berlin. I was like, oh, you're Nigerian. No, the egg throwers. You know, forget about the personality. Forget about whether it's a group. We are Nigerians. So whatever happens, it tells on the image of our country, of us all. So it's something that will affect every one of us. And like I said, you know, when this thing happened, it's pathetic, it's shamefully pathetic, and it's a national embarrassment. We're not saying don't protest, we're not saying don't be angry, but in another man's country, at an event, in fact, the gentleman who just spoke, they put in so much effort into making that event. I remember he came here like 3 times, you know, inviting dignitaries, you know, to try and attend and all that. So forget about whether there are issues. You know, I could be angry with you, but it's the solution at a public event in another man's country to throw stones and eggs and tear. I mean, come on. There's no excuse whatsoever. No, imagine they came to that hall with their banners or, you know, singing and then telling the Ekweremadu, we're angry with you at one thing or the other. But you do not in another man's country, where laws are meant to be respected. So even when you say human rights, they're not going to allow you to just, that was violence, you know, against somebody who wasn't expected. And then when people said to me, oh, well, you were the first to issue a statement, he's this and that, I said, no, the fact is Nigeria first. And one of the reasons why we should have an offenders register in all our embassies. And we're going to push for that. This kind of instance, we should have them listed as offenders. And someday they'll still come back to Nigeria. So let's look at it from the nationalistic point of view. It's him today, it could be anybody tomorrow. And then basically to us as Nigerians. Somebody sent me a message this morning that in some airport, maybe in Nairobi or something, they'll pull you aside as a Nigerian and now rescan your yellow passport, your yellow card. Why? Because a lot of Nigerians are going with fake yellow cards. So when you go with the fake yellow, they now see you as, oh, that yellow card, we can't trust you. We can't trust the information. Take you aside. Now scan you specially. So those are things that is one of the things that I think will rubbish our image. It's not government. It's about us and the way we conduct ourselves and the things we do.
Well, Ikechukwu, speaking to us a while ago, indicated that a representative of your commission was at the event. What report did you get from your representative?
Yeah, I got the first-hand report from her, and that was why it was very easy for us to immediately condemn the act. And she told me that after the Ekweremadu incident, actually, like he said, the event continued. The ambassador gave a speech, she gave a speech. It was very colorful, it was very beautiful, and it was very well attended. It was a beautiful ceremony. So after the Ekweremadu incident, they all left. Like you said, some people were actually, well, we call it arrested, but they were taken away, asked some questions. That, like you said, in Germany, it's a civil matter, it's not a criminal matter, except the complainer goes and says, or somebody there could say, oh, they injured me, but nobody, so it went very well. She showed me the pictures, it was beautiful, it was colorful, you would even be proud of the Igbo culture, so like you said, it went very well. The whole event was concluded, the ambassador to give his own speech, people gave their speeches, there was a lot of the normal Yam Festival ceremony, so unfortunately that was the only part of the ceremony that went viral.
Yes, that's right. Well, thank you, Honorable Abikadabre. We earlier introduced Kenneth Bandi on Skype, also joining us from Germany. You can see him there. So, Kenneth, what's your own recollection of what transpired? In particular, tell us something. Was there any hint that this unruly behavior might erupt at the festival in Nuremberg?
Well, thank you first of all for having me on the program, and my compliment to our chairman, Nigerian Diaspora Organization, Nigerian Diaspora Commission, Honorable Abike Dabiri. Yes, in addition to myself also being a expert on peace and security mediation, I'm also the chairman of Nigerian Diaspora Organization, Europe, for continental Europe. Of course, we expected such incident, so to say, and then we also, in our condemnation for any act of violence, we've maintained that the organizers of the event, they are supposed to, they should actually take that into consideration and make an adequate security arrangement. What we can make out of that, I'm not speaking for the Nigerian embassy, what we can make out for that, if a necessary precaution has taken into consideration, that probably this ugly incident could have been avoided. What do I mean by that? First, our former deputy president, Senate president, came in with a private car, which is actually very good. It's commendable because it has actually indicated that he has this willingness to interact with his own people. Rather than flying the normal official car. From our recollection, from our experience in Germany of 23 years, if our former deputy Senate president had decided to fly on a diplomatic car via the embassy, the security would have been the security arrangement would have been much different. So yes, we understand that there's a lot of dissatisfaction from the diaspora on certain issues, which as diaspora and as professionals we expected to to look into the laws of the land and address things the way they should be professionally. So yes, I think we expected such incident to happen, and I would have expected the organizers to take a maximum precaution for that.
When did you begin to get a sense that there was likely to be an attack on any visitor, any distinguished visitor from Nigeria? And what is so much at foot? Lawmaker here has given us a rundown of the efforts by Senator Ekweremadu to ensure that Nnamdi Kanu, who is the leader of the proscribed IPOB, got his bail while he was at Kuje prison. Why then would he be a target of the kind of unruly behavior that we saw last weekend?
Well, I think he's magnanimous enough by actually putting up a statement that he has forgiven the attacker, which is actually exemplary and good to probably de-escalate the issue. And I would want to say basically that the unruly behavior we experienced in Nuremberg does not represent a typical behavior of the Nigerians in diaspora. Of course, we know that such issues rub on everybody, but it's actually not expected. What am I trying to say by that? We have different opinion on several issues in Nigeria. Several issues on policies, several issues on this security situation in Nigeria, and so forth and so on. But we expected that we should be able to, debate as a professionals and as diasporan these issues and actually come to a compromise on that. So we know that there are people who probably see things differently and want to, impose their opinion on other people, and that is where we're actually totally against that. That having stayed so much in Germany, having stayed so much in Europe, we enjoy the freedom of freedom of speech, which we are enjoying here. We enjoy the democratic values, like Honorable Bikidabri already mentioned. You have a right to protest and even do all the necessary things to express your dissatisfaction. That is part of the policy, the advantage of a democratic country. But immediately you decide to use violence to impose your will on the opinion of other person, then of course it becomes totally unacceptable. So we are saying that such behavior is basically not acceptable. People might probably feel differently about whatever opinion they hold on to, which there are many of, I wouldn't say many of them, couple of them. So we expect that in every debate, people are actually having a strong different opinion, but throwing eggs and violent attack is definitely not part of it.
Thank you very, very much. We'll get back to you in the course of this discourse. Let's bring in Honorable Abike again. Before now, we've seen that in some parts of the world, Nigerians are already, suffering some form of discrimination or attacks. With this happening, isn't that going to give other nationals opportunity to now attack us? And what is your commission doing in terms of engaging the people that we have in diaspora to ensure that this kind of incident doesn't happen again?
Well, we just won't allow it to happen. We don't allow yourself to be stigmatized. I've said it severally. So that a group of people, 5-10 people, did what they did does not reflect me and does not reflect you. So the way you conduct yourself matters. So don't allow stigmatization. Never allow it. And we keep saying that. We keep engaging Nigerians abroad through the various... and I'm glad that, no reasonable person will see any sense in that. And again, one thing is, try to let the embassy know, especially, if you're a top government official, if you're around. It's important to inform them. You might say you inform them they did nothing, but it's always important that you inform the embassy of your visit or the fact that you're having a program in any of these countries. So I think that is also important for us. So basically, we, like I said, we were there, the commission was represented. So we try to be engage as many as we can, within our limited resources, do the best we can. So it's the engagement will always be continuous. But again, it's very important, like I said, that you inform the embassy of your move. Even students, when you go to a university, in Ukraine, for instance, we had a case of a student that was killed not too long ago. You are not aware that the student is there. So we're going to have some kind of, enlightenment program. A lot of people will say, we don't want to go to the embassy. They are this and that. But at least let them know I'm a student. I'm in this country. This is what I'm studying. Just document yourself there. If you get into trouble at the day shop is another thing. They will say, we didn't know anything. The guy that was killed in Malaysia prison, when the Malaysian authorities arrested him, they didn't tell the embassy. It was when he died that they now informed the embassy. And that's why it was very easy for the embassy to take it up. Why didn't you tell us whether our citizen in your prison? So it's very important. And right now, good enough, a diaspora desk have been created in every embassy. So we're soon going to announce the diaspora desk officers at every embassy in Nigeria, so that the desk you'll go to, there's a desk we will communicate with. You don't need to look for the ambassador. So there'll be a contact person in every embassy. And then states also need to get more involved in diaspora issues. So we hope every state will have a focal person for the diaspora, so that even in terms of investments, so we have about 10 states now some have commissioners, some have advisors on diaspora. So we want to hope that every state will see this as very important, not just because of the remittances that, we're always talking about, but the fact that there's a lot of good things in the diaspora, and it's important to tap into it. So we keep doing as much as we can. And even at the commission, by the time we move to our headquarters, we're going to have various, the EFCC, we're working with the EFCC. So if, for instance, you've been defrauded abroad, there's a desk to report to. Immigration, we'll be working with them. A major problem are passports. So, we'll see how we can ease the problems, working with the commission and other relevant agencies.
Well, still with you, the CEO of the Diaspora Commission, the summer season is usually very active with regard to various socio-cultural organizations in the diaspora and the various branches of the Diaspora Commission, of the Nigerians in diaspora, in the Americas, in Europe. And we have seen a flow of dignitaries who are invited from Nigeria to make appearances, such as Ekweremadu was going to make at Nuremberg. In your opinion, and against the background of the threat of further assault and attacks, what might happen to some of these festivals or these meets that you normally have Nigerians organize in different parts of the world, and the interaction that comes with those who are invited from home to participate in such events?
I just say that don't let them succeed in their aim, which is to make you afraid. You shouldn't be. And interesting, there's been a lot of jokes on social media about these issues. Did you see the guy holding stones behind him? Say, I'm waiting for a New Yam Festival. They even jokes about some governors, they were invited for New Yam Festival, and the governor said, I will eat yam at home. So there's been quite a lot of this. But don't be afraid. And then, like I said, they now invite
President?
Well, that's a very good question. The answer is simple, that credit to the Nigerian Diaspora Commission and credit to NIMSI. In diaspora, we've just flagged up the diaspora registration. The idea is to really have a comprehensive database of Nigerians in diaspora. So we can definitely be in the position to say XYZ took part in this account. Now, I'm not trying to avoid your question. We have a lot of Nigerians, or we have a lot of migrants. It's not specific.
The community back and forth, as Abika indicated earlier.
Almost going, I think.
And looking at what's happened in the last 2 days, the fact that the president actually thought of starting with a retreat for the ministers, it's about getting all the ministers to work from one to all sing from one page, and also get them ready for the great task ahead. I believe that they will get it done. By 2023, we should be looking at more Nigerians should be happier than where we are today.
All right, Ibrahim Modibo, let's get you to
the previous every constituency. If I have the means, and why without? No.